Hey there, everybody. I wanted to pop on here today and talk a little bit, got this weird light going on, talk a little bit about what's been a big theme in my own life this week, and interestingly, also very much mirrored and reflected in the conversations I've been having with my clients about stretching and what helps us stretch, what we need to stretch, why stretching is scary. So, I want to talk to you a little bit about some places that I've stretched this week. A couple of days ago, I was out hiking with a friend, and he took me somewhere new that I hadn't been. It was absolutely beautiful, but it was also a very narrow trail, kind of right above a lake. And there were a number of places where we were walking where my internal conversation was something like, I don't like this. I want to go to a trail where I'm more familiar, and where it's safer, and when I don't have to be as careful about where I put my foot so I don't trip or fall in the lake. And I was noticing kind of like the internal conversation was about I wanted familiarity, I didn't feel totally safe, but it was also very beautiful and I was enjoying being where I was. So I think that that really sums up sort of what the nature of a stretch is that it's being outside of the territory that is comfortable and familiar and safe. And then we had this beautiful hike. We actually popped in the lake, and then we were walking back, and there was some downhill, and I kind of tripped. And falling is probably like just one of the most, I don't know, it's just like this terrifying body feeling of sort of feeling my feet come out from under me. Fortunately, I have really good body reflexes, and I was able to catch myself by either grabbing onto something or finding something, but it was very, very startling. Like there was this moment where I was in free fall. And fortunately, my friend who I was hiking with, he knows the trail really well. He saw that I was slipping. He came over right away. He got me, made sure I was okay. And then he gave me this very long, comforting hug, which was very reassuring and very stabilizing to my nervous system. But it got me thinking about, as we continued the hike, like I had this combination of there was a little bit of residue of adrenaline, but it was also really exhilarating. It was like, I fell and I survived and I can still walk and everything's okay. And the worst thing that I was imagining happening happened, and I'm still okay. And it was this very unique flavor in my body. Like I had all of this energy that was sort of this combination of excitement and adrenaline that I had actually stretched. And like falling is kind of terrifying, but then I was okay. So I thought that that really captures the experience of being on an edge in a very literal way, and discovering that even though there is a sense of discomfort on an edge, that an edge is just a place that we haven't been before. And another time for me this week is I offered a new training this week, a new webinar. I was super excited about it, but there was also, some nervousness because I was in some new territory. And what I needed to walk that edge without shrinking and talking myself out of it and deciding things that would kind of keep me small is I just needed some more support. I had some conversations with friends who really reflected back to me my competency and my capability, and that I really know my shit and that I could do this. And I was right up on that edge of, kind of discomfort and wanting to stay safe in the familiar. But the downside of staying too safe in the familiar is that there's no growth edge there. And eventually it starts to feel more and more confining and more small. So here's how this relates to dating. In my conversations with clients this week, I've had a couple conversations with women where this was their stretch. Like just putting an online profile up and getting willing to go on one date, because she'd been out of the dating world for a while and she'd been putting it off, but sort of telling me, I really want to start dating. I need to start dating. So we had some agreements, and I just helped her be committed and connected to that commitment that she wanted to make. She got an online profile up. I helped her polish it, and she went on a date, and then she messaged me and said, it really wasn't so bad, and I'm actually really glad that I dipped a toe in, and now that I know I can do it, and the online thing isn't so bad. And so she kind of like pushed herself just a little bit into that world. So another woman, her edge is when she dates somebody that she likes, it's really hard for her. Hey, I can't see who that is, but thank you. I'm not seeing any notices today. When she dates somebody that she likes, it's really hard for her to be willing to let him know, I had a really nice time. I would like to see you again. I really enjoyed you. Like, she just feels so vulnerable doing that. So we actually practiced that. I had her rehearse that. We did like a little sort of pseudo dating adventure with me until she got to dress rehearse the words, and it felt a little less unfamiliar and a little less scary, and she could feel all of the adrenaline in her body and in her heart, but she realized that it was survivable. And the worst thing that could happen is he could say thank you and either never call and text her or say, I'm just not feeling a fit. And any of those things she could survive, and that they were actually, she had a preference for those than leaving a date and not really expressing what was true for her and being authentic and even being a little bit vulnerable. So another session that's coming to mind is somebody was talking to me about, they were on, I think it was their third date, and there was just like some little miscommunication. I can't remember what it was. It was some minor thing that they needed to have a conversation about. As happens, it can happen as early as the first date. And first she went into this sort of fear reflex because conflict has tended to freak her out. And then she just remembered a couple things that I had walked her through about how to get really grounded in her body and how to stay connected to herself and how to know that conflict is survivable rather than to be avoided. And she was really surprised that she was able to use the language that I had coached her on, but that the languaging really came second nature to her as a result of just feeling more grounded and more comfortable. So it's been a big week for stretching, and I would invite you to just kind of ask yourself, are you stretching or shrinking when it comes to the actions that you're taking around your dating? Are you putting off going on a date? Are you putting off putting up a profile online just to see what happens? Are you putting off sending a message to somebody that you feel drawn to because you're waiting for him, or you're telling yourself some story that he's not going to like you? Or how else could you be shrinking? Well, not being honest, not being authentic, right? So I want to invite you to just take a chance, just dip a toe into free fall. Hi, Eric. I don't think, hey, Sandra, nice to see you. I don't think I'll ever forget that feeling in my body where I was literally sliding down the trail. Like part of me could kind of see the scenario of like being at the hospital and broken bones. None of that happened. I caught myself. I didn't even have any, bones, bruises or anything. Although the next day after the hike, because it was a pretty rugged hike, it was more rugged than my hikes tend to be. And the next day I did like have some, little scratches and some mosquito bites, but it was a good feeling of like, yeah, I had gotten out there and I'd put my rugged hat on and I went to this lake that I never would have gotten to see otherwise. And we actually swam in the lake and it was all worth it. It was more than survivable. It was actually very refreshing and stimulating and kind of got me out of my comfort zone in a big way. So if you are willing to take a chance in your, hey Wendy, in your dating life, I'd love to hear in the comments either a chance that you have taken, a stretch that you have taken recently in your dating or your love life and how it went, or a stretch that you are willing to take in the next couple of days just to see how it goes, because you can survive it. And if we're not stretching, at least occasionally, we are shrinking. So if you found this helpful, I would love to invite you over to my group room that's called Dating Wisdom for successful singles. I talk about all kinds of stuff that's going to help you get really good at dating so you can go out and have some great dates that are fun and that lead you to love. So I'll put the link up here where you can find it. And I look forward to hearing about your stretching adventures. Bye.